Alright, for all of my FA20 friends out there, I know I don't put a lot of content out on FA20 stuff. I just never have the opportunity to do so. But today we have that opportunity. So what is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. As you guys know, I secured an FA20 short block, which I have right in front of me, which I'll show you guys here in a minute. Now, this FA20, we're going to tear it down. We may end up building it now. We may end up building it later. I don't quite know yet. It all depends on whoever the winner is of the giveaway and whatever engine they decide. If they do decide to pick the FA20, we'll do a full video showing you guys how to build an FA20 to be able to hold 500 wheel horsepower. It's really not that bad. It's pretty much the exact same as an EJ. So I have an EJ25 here in front of me and an FA20, not FA25, that's not even a thing. So let me show you guys the quick differences between an EJ and an FA, and then we'll start tearing this thing apart. So there's a couple main differences between this FA20 and this EJ25 here that I want to show you guys before we start tearing into this thing. So first of all, with the FA20, it's a 2-liter direct injected engine, where this is a 2.5-liter port injected engine. Now, some of the main differences between these short blocks here is this, you don't have access panels on it like you do on this. So on a standard EJ25, you've got these front access panels here that go into the engine, and that's how you get the wrist pins on and off of the pistons. Now, because the FA20 uses an offset rod design, you're able to get the rod onto the piston and then push it in and then connect it up to the crank like you would on a standard style engine. EJ25s and EG33s and things of that nature are the weird ones where you have to do pistons, or you have to connect the rods to the crank, get it all bolted together, and then put the pistons in, get the wrist pin clips in through that access panel there, that access panel there, and then the two on the back. These ones, not so much. Now, the biggest weak point with an FA20 is the rods, and once we get this torn apart, I'll open it up and I'll show you guys what the rods in here look like compared to an EJ25 rod. The actual sleeves of this cylinder are pretty beefy if you look at them, which is actually pretty nice. So if we come in here, just because I'm curious, if we come in here and we measure 0.32 on an EJ25, on an FA20, 4120, which isn't bad. So you got some pretty thick cylinder walls on an FA20, I'll give you guys that. Now, a couple other small things here is on the FA20, you have this small little cutout between the cylinders for the cooling jackets, and that allows coolant to flow in between these cylinders a little bit better, just to be able to improve cooling. If you look at that on the EJ25, there isn't one. The other interesting thing about this is the case bolts. So all of the case bolts on an FA20 are all over here on the passenger side of the car, or the right side of the engine. If you look at an EJ25, they're split between both of them. You've got a couple bolts that go in on this side. You've got a couple that go in on this other side also. So a little bit different of a design here, but let's start tearing this thing apart, because I'm sure you guys want to see what's inside of this thing. I'm sure you guys want to see how to tear it down. It's not really any different than doing it on this, except we have to take the rods and pistons out instead of the pistons and then the rods and then split. It's weird. I'll show you guys. So first things first, let me flip this thing around 180 degrees so that way we can get the access panel on the back side of it off. It's not even an access panel, it's just the air oil separator plate that's on the back of the engine. All right, so the first thing we got to do with this is go ahead and flip it around so that way we can see the back of it. Oh, these little shits are heavy. Now on the back side of it, you're gonna see this plate right here. We're gonna have to take that off just to get it out of the way. There shouldn't be an access panel behind there, but we'll take it off, we'll get it out of the way. Those look like just a couple of 10s. Grab our fun Phillips head and pop this guy off. So this is just the air oil separator plate for the PCV system. Honestly, we can just set this aside. You don't have to take it off. I just like getting them out of the way. So now to start dismantling Big Bertha here. Well, I guess this is Little Bertha since it's a 2-liter. Now this is where things are obviously different between an FA and an EJ. In order to get the pistons out, we need to just disconnect them from the rods right here. So I'm gonna have to grab something to be able to turn. I don't have a crank bolt for this, and there's no way to get something on here. So this will be fun. This engine spun a bearing on, I believe, cylinder 3. Once we get this thing torn apart, I'll show you guys what a spun bearing looks like. But first, let me find something to be able to turn this engine over with. So that way we can be able to gain access to all of our rod bolts here. Okay, I don't have a crank bolt for this, but I do have flywheel bolts, so I'm just gonna have to spin it off the flywheel off the bottom of it. Now, these bolts aren't like your normal rod bolts. These are actually E14s, which is a little bit weird. It's like a star shape. I'm not quite sure why Subaru uses E14s on these, but I can tell you one thing, they really got the rod bolts torqued down. So there's one. Go ahead, take this out. We're not reusing these rods or anything like that, so that smells like used engine, I can tell you that much. Rod bolt, you're so far away. Well, while I have it right here, I might as well get these ones since they're already poking out. Oh, Well, there's the failure. Right on cylinder 3. That'll cause your engine to die right there. It's a good thing we're rebuilding this one. Curious to see what that bearing looks like. Dude, engines, if you've never torn down an engine, they have an interesting smell to them. Dude, used engines. There's something about used engines that just smell disgusting. Flip this thing back down, keep rotating it. I wish I had a crank bolt because that would make life a hell of a lot easier instead of going back here and spinning it over by hand, but you know what? It is what it is. Dope, now I can get this guy and a little bit more and I can get that guy. Here we just knock them all out while I can get them. Four down, 4 to go, daddy-o. So now we should be able to take this rod cap out and then get this rod and piston out. So if I grab these, this bearing looks, for the most part, okay. It's got a little bit of scoring on it. I'll show you guys these once we get this thing torn apart a little bit more. But so to get it out, you can literally just stick your hand in here on the bottom side, push out on the rod, and then that's gonna give you the piston and rod assembly that come out together. Just like that. So you guys can see what I was talking about, the offset rod design on these. The rod actually isn't asymmetrical like it is on an EJ and most other platforms. They just use this weird offset rod design. You guys can see how thin the stock rods are. This is the weakest point on any FA series engine, is these rods alone. A, because they're offset like this. B, because there's just not a lot of material right here for these rods to be able to hold power. So most of the time, if you have an FA engine and you're trying to make power, this is gonna be your weakest link. It's either gonna bend or snap, whatever happens first. So now that we have one of these guys out, let me run through, get the other 3 of them out, and we can continue on our journey here of tearing down an FA20 to rebuild it better and stronger. So this is the cap that had all the damage to. Oh God. So all I've done so far is take this rod cap off. Let me show you guys what rod bearing failure actually looks like. So this right here is rod bearing failure. Now the biggest thing I want to point out here is there's massive scoring on all of these bearings. Now if you look right here, you can see that the bearing is no longer lined up with the rod. And well, when you spin a bearing, it means that they're no longer lined up and you're going to get all of that scoring on there. I'm curious to see how the crankshaft looks on this. The crank's probably well, the crank might be okay, but it's probably fooked. If these bearings were spinning, it means it probably took material down off the crank, and the crankshaft itself is probably screwed. So we'll get cylinder 3 rod and piston out, see what that crankshaft looks like, because I am actually very curious at this point. Now that thing is screwed. Where's my glove? No love, no glove. No glove, no love. All the love, all the glove. Glove, love. Give me glove, love. That's kind of cool. Able to show you guys that. Oh yeah, that bearing. Oh dude, there's so much. Oh, the carnage. Oh, let me get this rod and piston out. Carnage is real. Look at that rod. Look at all the scoring on there. That'll happen. You spin a bearing, you're screwed, dude. I want that bearing cap. I want what's left of it, I guess I should say. Oh! Oh! Oh, I'll show you guys these after I get the rest of them out. Dude, these bearings are so screwed. Let's get the other 2 rods and pistons out of here. So that right there is what bearings should look like. They have minimal wear. I mean, that one right there on the right, I probably, you know, it could be a little bit better. It's got 1 scoring mark. This is what the spun bearings look like. Oh my God, you guys can see the massive difference in like there is significantly less bearing material even here. There's so much bearing worn down from how they originally were to what they are now. Woo! Spinning a bearing is never a good time. You can see just how much the rod was eating into that bearing right there. All the scoring. I haven't even seen the crank yet, but we'll see the crank after we get this thing split apart. So now that we've got our rods and pistons out, that's super easy to do, you guys. I'm going to throw all of this away because we're not going to be reusing any of that. I wouldn't give any of this to anyone else to reuse. I guess I can show you guys this too again. All the hot spots and the heat that got put into this rod, like that rod is straight up trash now. This is what it's supposed to look like, where it's like no hot spots, nothing heat. You still have cross hatching on there. Insane. Well, absolutely insane. So let's get this thing split. Typically, I just go down the pecking order and just start pulling out the bolts in the front, and then I'll jump over here to the bolts to the side. When we send this down to be machined, they're going to go ahead, rebore, rehone everything, get this block looking nice and pretty for us. I'll go ahead and rinse it off and give it a quick clean out in the driveway real quick, but let's get this thing split open. See the secrets it's hiding. What do we got going across the top? 12s? Yep, 12s. That's what I thought. What I thought. Give me my glove. That's what I thought. These guys really aren't torqued down to much. I want to say the torque spec on these is around like 14 foot-pounds. Nothing crazy. To be honest, I probably don't even need the breaker bar, but might as well use it if I have it out. So we've got all the ones off the top off. Now we're gonna rotate it. Now all of the inner case bolts for this are like I said, they're all over here on the right side of the engine, which is technically left for me, but if you spin it around, you look at it the right way, it's the right side. This is 12.12. Yep, 12.12. The way that I'm going to break these free is going to be inner, inner, outer, outer, outer. So just working your way out from the inside of it. Oh, I forgot, the engine always farts when you break these things free. You guys can see a little burst of air coming out of there from the pressure that's built up. It's like a, you know, I'm not gonna say what I think it sounds like. I'm sure you can use your imagination. God, dude, it's like fucking dusty farts. Oh my God, that was the dustiest of the farts. What I like to do is I like to go around the case real quick and just verify that I don't see any more bolts anywhere. Every now and then I may forget one or two, and then I'll try to split the case. I'll be like, okay, something is clearly still bolted together here, so. Flip this thing up on its butt. No bolts running down the front, no bolts running down the back. There's a bearing. Oh yeah, the crank on this thing is fucked. I know there's no bolts on the backside down here, so we are good to go ahead and split this thing open. Now there's a couple different ways you can go about doing it. I prefer the mallet method, where you just start tapping on it each way. I like to open up the case a little bit in a non-sealing area that isn't of great importance, like the top side of the bell housing where it bolts up to the transmission. Just get a small flat head in there just to create a gap. So, start splitting this old girl open. A slightly larger one like that, and you guys can see the case is already starting to split apart right here. Now there's a couple spots you don't want to try to jam anything in any critical sealing areas. If you're going to use the screwdriver method, do it only in non-sealing areas. Like there is no compression, there's no oil, there's nothing that comes out of this top half. So if you're going to do that, do it in a spot that doesn't have critical sealing. We're almost pretty separated. On the back side down by the main seal is still held together, so set you up on your butt right here. We just gotta separate down here now. There we go, a couple love taps, opened her right up. So I'm gonna scoot this back. And then open it up like so. So we've got one of our case halves right here. I'll set this one aside. Got this other case half here with the crank. Pick you up, set you down, scoot you over. And we go ahead and pop our rear main seal out of here, throw that away, and get our crankshaft out of here. Crankshaft in FAs is so much smaller. The bearings are also wildly smaller. All the main bearings are actually solid. It didn't spin anything on the mains, which is good for us because we're gonna be reusing these. It's also interesting how FAs use a different style of thrust washer that lock into number 5, and I'll show you guys that, but interesting. It only spun a rod bearing, which is good for us because that means this case half set is just that much better, where we don't have to worry about any potential or old damage on here. So let me get this thing wiped down and cleaned up a little bit, and then I'll show you guys kind of all the internals and lay everything out all nice and pretty for you. All right, you guys, so I got everything laid out here just to be able to walk you guys through everything. So honestly, in my opinion, the best way to lose an engine is due to rod bearing failure. Rod bearing failures, at least for the most part, will save your case halves, which in my opinion is the most important part out of losing an engine. You guys know I love used case halves. I got one here, I got one here, I got one way over there in the corner. Well, that one's Matt's, but we love used case halves. That's the point I'm trying to make. Rod bearing failure, yes, it will demolish your day. You will not have a fun time. It will kill your rod bearings, and it will kill your crankshaft, like you can see right there. Like you guys can see all that scoring on that crankshaft. That's what it's supposed to look like, nice and polished. That looks like I drug it on the concrete and absolutely demolished it. So honestly, best case scenario for us, the thrust bearings or the thrust washers on FAs are a little bit interesting. I haven't seen them like this before. Oh, I haven't torn apart an FA up until now, but very interesting, very different from EJs. But you guys have it. It's really not bad to tear apart Subaru engines. Everyone makes it seem like it's some daunting task that they have to do. EJs are far worse than FA20s. You guys saw. You guys can just leave the pistons connected to the rods, pop them out, easy deal. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick video today on tearing apart the FA20. We may build this one here in the near future, or it may happen later on. It all depends on what the winner wants from the giveaway, whether they want to win the EJ25 or whether they want to win the FA20. Regardless of who wins and what engine they pick, we're going to do a new crankshaft, brand new main bearings, brand new rod bearings, brand new rods, and brand new pistons. The engine will be capable of holding 500 wheel horsepower, so you guys can do with whatever you choose to do with them. It's all up to you. If you guys aren't entered in the giveaway and you want to be, I'll put the website right here. It's www.smeedia.net. Every $25 you guys spend on merch gets you one entry into winning one of those engines. We'll do the drawing on the giveaway ends on April 29th. The drawing will be 1 week following that. So I'm excited to build one of those. I enjoy building engines. It's soothing, it's fun. I enjoy it for some reason. I don't know why, but that's all I got for you guys on this one today. I just wanted to give you guys a walkthrough on how to tear apart the FA20 because some of you guys were asking for this video and I don't do a lot of FA20 content, so hopefully this helps you guys out a little bit if it comes down to it and you're tearing apart your FA20, or if you're just curious on the inside of them. So that's all I got for you guys on this one. If you like the video, you know what to do. Go ahead, hit that like button, turn it black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver, cyan, whatever color it turns for you. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you want to be one of these corners, no idea which one I'll put it in quite yet, but with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. So peace out, homies. Woo!